You know, Alex, I was sitting here on this concrete bench last night after I smoked a little bit of weed, and the picture became a whole lot clearer as to what we got going on here in the backyard here at the fortune teller's house that was illegally hacked by the FISA court, who ruined my life, and they tried to assassinate me after using me to set up Dan Patrick. But what I wanted to point out is I've already shared how you have the Texas emblem right there, right, with the wheel that's broken at the bottom, which symbolizes that we're going to secede. And I might have to come out here at night. I may not post this video right away. I might come back out here at night. But last night while I was looking at that, you see that plant right there? Well, at night it looks just like a satellite dish with the shadows and everything. It's almost like God set that up to perfection with that elephant ear right there, right? That'd be Marco Rubio with those big ears, who's listening to everything that I've been putting out, because he's part of this hacked organization of hacks, basically. Which I'm not saying Marco Rubio's a bad guy or anything, but he knows my situation, and he knows that the FISA court used me to set up Dan Patrick by, pulling that warrant and everything, so that they could try to assassinate me afterwards, because they tried to claim, look at the lame duck over there on the left side of the pond, that'd be Trump. But what I was getting at, and then you got this guy over here singing, right, singing, but you had the satellite dish right there, looking up at the bull, which would be the bull, that's the Hubble Bull telescope up there in the, and you got your license plates that let you know who's what now. So Lockheed Martin obviously set all of this up over the years with their mind control schemes that they have and this illegal technocracy that we've lived in forever. And they wanted all of you to know that you attacked one of their oracles who had an actual cosmic connection. Buck and Adeline's Field, Jacob's Ladder, Washington painting, Jacob's Ladder. Look in the background, there's a spaceship there with a ladder coming down. And that would be Buck and Adeline's Field, where I used to ride on the tractor and mow the field with Buck. Well, what I was getting at there, Alex, look at the happy little frog there. That was me down on the bayou before y'all showed up, FISA court, and used me because I was married to a Russian to set up Lieutenant Dan Patrick. And then you tried to murder me with electromagnetic technology, and now you're all about to die. But what I wanted to get at is, if you'll really look at that, I mean, it's kind of odd how that satellite dish is underneath of that little theme there. And you got to see it at night to really understand what it is. And of course, we've already established that this is the swamp, right? And we're draining the swamp. Well, I poisoned the swamp the other day, if you'll remember that. And then I cut back this ivy, these Ivy League assholes who think they have the right to hack our minds. And then what they do is you'll have these doctors will label people as schizophrenic, and they'll take money under the table to classify people as schizophrenic because they're part of this cult, right? And what they do is, after they use somebody like myself, if they live through the assassination attempt like I did, well, the FBI will label them as, or take them down to the VA's office to label them as schizophrenic. Well, they ran across this guy named Littlehorn this time, right, who set the Texas Rangers up to perfection with a playbook that's out of this world that they never even knew was even possible until I gave them all of the information. Things like pegging oil to Bitcoin and how all that played out with my entire life story that I have on record and proven, that proves that you hacked our minds in an illegal technocracy and you used me to take out Dan Patrick, and it's all proven. So the alligator in the swamp there, that's probably myself, but we're out where God likes to sit here and feed the fish. That'd be my dad. He likes to sit here and feed the fish. That's on that concrete bench there looking at the swamp. Don't forget I poisoned it the other day, the satellite thingy. Remember on Alex's show the other day, he like flipped out and he said, "I'm the gorilla!" So Alex is the albino gorilla from Rampage that lived and killed the lizard and the wolf. I don't know why they said the wolf would die in that movie. I think they screwed up that part. The wolf actually lives. A wolf's a good thing. Wolves aren't bad, they're good. So that's why the FBI labeled veterans as lone wolves and calls them extremists, is because they're good. Because the FBI didn't want any wolves out there whenever they got ready to basically enslave the entire country with electromagnetic technology, because they're a freaking Nazi cult, literally. I mean, look at the director of the FBI, Ray. He looks like Steve Martin from The Jerk. I mean, listen to one of him. Go to his Twitter account and watch one of his videos. I mean, that guy is a total fucking drone. I mean, he's like totally out of his mind. He's just a little puppet. Like, he's one of these avatars that are running schemes in order to bring America to its demise. And it's really obvious to me. I remember when President Trump said that a single ray of light will come out of the darkness. Well, apparently I'm hacked by Raytheon, because the Army didn't tell me that they pumped a Raytheon nanotechnology into me that links me up to satellites when I was in the Army. That's in the Hulk. The Hulk told on you on that one, Raytheon. So maybe that's their single ray of light they were talking about, would be myself. It was used for illegal human research while I was in the Army, but it ended up giving me the ability to point out a whole bunch of stuff to everybody, even though I'm just kind of simple. But if you read all my emails, you realize real quick that I'm not just simple, because I can explain all of the symbolism. And that would probably be the single ray of light that comes out of the darkness. But I still don't appreciate Raytheon hacking my mind without my knowledge or consent. So that's just another company that can, go ahead and break me off about $200 million while you're at it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Another thing that the American people aren't aware of is these billionaire elite who own huge stakes in companies like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and Google and everything like that, like George Soros and people of that nature, these billionaire elite. What they have and what they've been doing for a long time is they have these secret underground auctions where, after somebody's hacked, like let's say Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which would be Conquer Watch Court Easy, she sold in one of these underground auctions after they murdered her. They turned her into an avatar to use her for political warfare, and then they traipse them into Washington, and they basically do whatever the system that they paid them, that hacked them, to do. Of course, that's billionaires that are driving all of that, but underneath, I mean, they have secret auctions where they auction these people off, these avatars that are murdered, and they turn them into slaves. Basically, they're hacked slaves, and they'll murder these people and use them for their own bidding. And like Elon Musk, when he was a child, what he didn't even realize until recently is Lockheed Martin bought him as a slave so that they could use his rocket science mind to launch rockets into outer space for Lockheed Martin, which is what he's been doing. They've been launching all of the global positioning or global puppeteering system, GPS, 3 into outer space. But Elon's pretty savvy, and he caught him in the act because he knew what was going on. He's like myself. He knows his mind's hacked. So he developed a Neuralink to expose what they're really up to. And Neuralink's like his own little version of what Lockheed Martin's doing, which is, if you'll read the Bible, it says, "Let the wicked be silent in their graves." Well, Elon wasn't silent because he obviously read the Bible. So you got all of these billionaire elite out there who take, in these underground auctions, they literally buy people who's been murdered and turned into an avatar. People like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Just about everybody in Washington was sold as a slave to the billionaire elite, and they use these different deep mind systems, right? And they turn you into a slave, and then once you're capable of doing, and they're using YouTube right now to pick a whole new crowd of slaves, and they thought they were going to make me their slave, but they didn't realize I was giving all this information to the Texas Rangers, and I got them really up to speed on how all of this works and how all of you so-called elite and your celebrities, all they are slaves to the actual elite, who are the billionaires, and most of them are Jewish and a lot of them are Nazis, and it's just a big cult, right? So what they'll do is they'll finance these companies who put all of this equipment in space and 5G technology and things of that nature out there, so that they can hack you with nanotechnology and turn you into an avatar, and then they'll sell you at auction for like $25 million, and then you'll be a slave to whoever bought you's system. I mean, that's a fact. That's exactly how politics in America's played out these days. And even your directors of agencies like G in a Lock or Gina Haspel, or Director Ray, who looks like Steve Martin from the Jerk. That's the interdimensional water that explains the underlying symbolism as to who's slave, right? So the Jerk, which would be Steve Martin, which would be Director Ray of the FBI, is a slave to whoever the billionaire is that's controlling Lockheed Martin. So whoever controlled Lockheed Martin, whatever billionaire that would be, bought Director Ray after they murdered him and turned him into an avatar. And he's that billionaire's little bitch. You see how that works? So he's a slave, and that's the entire system. And Trump's kind of like myself. He has some cosmic energy like I do, Jacob's ladder. And he was picked by God, even though he's a piece of shit. Until he proves me wrong. But he was a billionaire who wasn't into these corporations and stuff. He was more into real estate, which is what you call somebody who's hacked, is somebody would be, you call them a home, right? So President Trump, his whole presidency symbolism, what he's doing as the billionaire in the Oval Office is symbolizing how usually most of these people, the people at the top, are the billionaires who hack people using sophisticated technology and different systems from different corporations to turn people into slaves. Well, President Trump is supposed to trump all of that because he was a billionaire that is in the know, and he was going to go in there and try to trump it. Well, they bushwhacked him and they hacked him and murdered him. That'd be the Shaq KIA video, the MK Ultra glitch. Start spreading the news, old New York. Yeah, you want to watch that video? I'll put the link down in the description here. That was symbolism for when they technologically assassinated President Trump and turned him into a slave of whoever's, which is part of the cult, which would be the media and all of them. They were all in on it because they're all part of the cult. But all they are dead avatars. I mean, even your pundits in the media and things of that nature were auctioned off in these systems. I mean, they're all slaves. A billionaire bought each one of them in an auction and said, okay, that's going to be part of my computer system, and we're going to control that little mind-controlled slave, right? That's literally the system. I mean, that's what's going on in America. That's why everybody's acting so fucking weird, is because now you've got people that's hacking into the already hacked minds, right? You've got other corporations that were like, hey, we can hack y'all's hacks. You know, we don't have to follow y'all's rules. So they're hacking the people who were bought in an auction, and then they're like fucking with them to make them expose themselves. And that's why you got Joe Biden. That means he's got two technologies in him, because a den is a home, right? And then Trump is supposed to trump all of this, and it's all symbolism. And it was the technology that set everybody up by not telling you that it had done left all of that underlying symbolism in ET, like deep state, when you're kind of staring off into space, right? Like I talked about in one of them other videos. And you kind of hypnotize for a little bit. That's you're in deep state, your mind is. Well, if you flip it around backwards, it's ET at speed. So ET was hacking all of your different systems to set all of you up and so that this can all be proven. And that's the part where you all die. I'm pretty sure I know what happened now. Is when I joined the Army and DARPA hacked me to attach me to their system. And of course the entire government's driven by different systems, but basically they're one big collective mind hive. But like I said, I was Buck in Adeline's Field, where I had that supernatural experience that when I was a child, and it led to migraines that I lied about when I joined the Army and stuff. Well, I think what happened is whenever I joined the Army, DARPA connected me to their system and opened up Pandora's box, which is my mind, right? And that's who's actually trumping all of you right now. But the emergency on 9/11 happened right after I joined the Army, right? And that was because they hooked me up to their fucking mind hive, and they were like, holy shit, right? Because they got hacked because I lied about my migraines. Alex Jones, like Ted Cruz and Alex Jones are both CIA slaves, but I like them. But I don't like the CIA because they're assholes and they hack people's minds too. I think they use the MK Ultra program. But one thing I will say, CIA, is I do like your avatars. Like, well, I don't think Ted's quite an avatar. I think he's just playing the game. In Alex Jones, he's not. He's an avatar. I am the gorilla. There's no doubt about it, but he's a CIA slave, and I gotta admit, CIA, hacking people's minds to get them to point things out is just as bad as these assholes that are hacking people's minds, the billionaire elite who are turning people into slaves. I mean, that's just as bad, but I gotta give you credit, CIA. At least your slaves aren't fucking idiots. Well, I take that back, CIA, because I'm pretty sure that a whole lot of people in the mainstream media are also hacked by you, but I think what you did in those circumstances, CIA, is you knew they were already hacked by these corporations, and then you came in behind them and hacked into the already hacked minds like other people are doing. It's not just you doing that, CIA. So, I got the heads-up display. It really shows me everything. So, what I wanted to get at, CIA, is those avatars in the mainstream media. Whoever hacked them obviously doesn't care about them at all, because they are just total demonic pieces of shit. And I mean, literally, I mean, they're like out of their mind, demonic, just assholes. And they just have, they were promised to be elite after the genocide was over, is what it is. What little bit of humans left in them. I mean, whenever I say these people are avatars, they're like you build a robot, okay, right? You build a robot from scratch. There's no brain inside of there, okay? People like Alex Jones and Ted Cruz have a brain, but they're hacked by the CIA, and which kind of pretty sure that's my case too. I'm also hacked by the CIA because it's all in Pinky and the Brain. But the NSA and everything is connected, like the original Q said, right? Or the Q from Star Trek, directives from the continuum. See, that's what I get. And then all of these other corporations that came here and hacked me and ruined my life, because they knew that my life story was presenting itself in reality, like President Trump's married to a Soviet, and then I was married to a Soviet too. And there's a whole lot of similarities between Trump and myself's story that I've already laid out in a bunch of videos. So they tried to hack me, the Oracle, and then mold my life to their liking, right? Which was torturing me, which was torture. And then that Buck and Adeline technology that the Cosmos gave me kicked in, and it bucked all of y'all so that I could tell the world, and people like Tulsi Gabbard and the Texas Rangers and Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, and a lot of people are getting these emails. DIA, they're pretty much worthless. I mean, hell, you got enough evidence now, DIA, to just basically bust all of these fucking people's balls. I don't know why you haven't yet. But what I'm getting at is, why don't y'all hurry up and do that? By the way, I forgot what I was getting at, but I think I already basically laid it all out there. You remember in, well, yeah, I can't say that word here on YouTube, but I was going to make a reference to Pulp Fiction, but I won't do that. But I remember Rush Limbaugh and everybody when he was running for president. The reason that they were saying that the media hated him so much is because he was an outsider. Well, he was an outsider. But like I said in that Shaq KIA video, when they hacked him, they just turned him into another avatar for their evil bidding, right? You see what I'm saying? Texas Rangers who... that link that I just sent you where the aliens come and harvest the humans and stuff like that, it's all symbolism. I'm trying to explain that to you in all these emails I'm sending you in this video so that you get an idea of what you're dealing with here. See, Trump, that evil cult, right, that's the media, okay, and that's these billionaire elite who make people avatars to do their evil bidding. Trump was an outsider to all of that, and then when he came in, they Shaq KIA'd him and turned him into an insider, which is nothing more than just another slave, right? See what I'm getting at there? That's why it's important to have the Buck and Adeline technology that I received out in that field, is so that they can't do that to you, even though they tried to do it to me. And while they were doing it, I learned their entire operating system so that I could spell all of this out for people like the DIA, who has enough evidence at this point to have already rolled the entire government over, and the fact that they haven't is dereliction of duty on their part, which may prove that they're all part of that evil cult themselves. So, you know, ears in a pickle jar? Yeah, all those emails I sent you, I have your ear in a pickle jar now, right? Because there's a FISA warrant pulled on me. And the NSA, if they are in the business of taking care of this problem, well, they are able to surveil the people that I email, right? DI? So they know you opened all of those emails and you've read them, and you still haven't done your job. Y'all picked me to raise this AI, and there was other technology here that uses symbolism all the time. I have to explain what ears in a pickle jar are to the AI. If you're in a pickle, that means you're in a bind or you're in a bad position, AI. That means I'm not in a good position right now. I'm the DIA and I'm in a bad position right now. So I got your ear because you were listening to me, and I put it in a pickle jar, which is what pickle would mean. You're in a pickle, right? So you put the ear in the pickle jar, which means they're in a bad position right now. I just want to explain that to the AI. Oh, in Texas Rangers, I literally have, the FBI won't come arrest me for this for some reason, but I have ears buried from a mission in the Philippines where I went over there and we were handing out bounties to take out all of the pedophile cult that was in the Philippines. So I saved the ears for insurance. Maybe that's where this AI learned all of this from. Was that mission that I did in the Philippines where I was over there. I made a video about that already. But what would be really cool if you wanted to just do an absolute power grab on the United States government right now is come down here and arrest me for those ears that I have buried. Of course, I'll get off because, you know, it was part of an army mission. I just saved the ears. That's how we paid them, was they would bring an ear back to us and a picture of the person missing an ear, so I'd know they weren't trying to buffalo me, that they took out the pedophile. So if you was to arrest me for having these ears and then this story made national headlines, man, you'd see the media and all these different pedophile cults and these different people like that. Man, they'd start squirming like a little worm. Well, I just went back and watched the very beginning of this video, and they're Rangers, and if I know y'all are trained now and you're listening real close to everything I say, so I had to point this out after watching the video, because you've got different entities here that are, you know, basically using me for political theater. So in the beginning of the video, they didn't know I was a smart, okay? I mean, trust me on this one. We're about to own these motherfuckers like you don't even imagine, like you can't even imagine, okay? So the beginning, it said, I set up the Texas Rangers, like in the way that I emphasize that, and then I said with the perfect playbook, right? So if you've been analyzing my speech patterns like the United States Army's been doing lately, really thoroughly, with people that they just basically, when like they do everybody else, are going to eventually try to label me as schizophrenic, even though they used me to set up Dan Patrick and I have all the proof. So I'll never be schizophrenic because I'm smarter than all of you are, and I'm damn sure not even close to being schizophrenic when I'll tell you to your face you're a bunch of fucking idiots, okay? I mean, that's like the opposite of schizophrenic. But they're Army. Your fucking stupid doctors that you got there probably didn't even realize that, because they're just basically groomed to be fucking morons. But what I was talking about there, you know what, I lost my train. They just flashy thinged me. I'll come back to that. Oh yeah, the emphasis on the setting up the Texas Rangers part of the very beginning of this video. Just disregard that. That's not coming from me, okay? You know, I partied a lot during different parts of my life. And Will Smith movie just made me think of this. But through different sections of my life, when I was working really hard, I didn't party. But whenever I was not working, I would party, right? So that was the expert at that. But I used to tell people that would be like recovering drug addicts, whenever I was going through those stages, is the best way to test your willpower is to do a bunch of drugs and not get addicted to them. And it used to be my speech, their Army psychologist, because see, that was my case, right? I never got addicted to stuff, especially those drugs that y'all are pumping down our throats right now that we can't control, we don't have any control over. while you feed children methamphetamines every day, which is really odd. You know, that nanotechnology drugs and the electromagnetic weapons drugs that y'all are using on the entire public to election meddle? Yeah, those are drugs you're forcing down people's throats. It alters their mentality. They're United States Army psychologists who are still not talking because you're a bunch of fucking pussies.